Alrighty, here we go. Let's do this. How are we going to put this on? And that's good. And that's good. Put this right here. Might be a little bit better. There we go. Adjust this a little. Just the legs. Just in the pan. This is the pan. Tighten this thing up. Earlier we had a problem with our little tripod. We had to fix it up, we had to tune it up on our break. But now we're back in action. Action packed. Here we go. So we're live. We got Google Plus Hangouts live. Periscope is live. Still in the hotel. If you were here for the morning session, thank you for being here. If you weren't here for the morning session and you're now just arriving to the session this afternoon, thank you for being here. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream on Periscope. If you're just tuning in on the scope, welcome. Here in the beautiful Chicago, Illinois, and I'm doing these live streams because we got shut down today. We got rejected by Mother Nature. Mother Nature decided to visit us. We got hit with a blizzard. We're here in Illinois. We're working on an 8-stop, 5-school, 4-day trip. And today is day 1. And we got no love. So we got shut down. Schools were canceled. And so rather than sitting and twiddling my thumbs, what we decided here was we're going to utilize some technology and we're going to do some live training and live streaming throughout the day. So this is the second of 3 sessions. Today, this will go for probably about an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or however long it takes for me to feel like I delivered enough content and value to take a break. So the morning session was pretty awesome. If you didn't get to catch that, you can go on either the YouTube channel. I'll share the link later on the Facebook, or you probably can find it by just searching YFYI. So I'm your host this afternoon, as I was your host this morning. My name is Sunny D, and I am currently in the process of spreading the message of YFYI, your first year in the beauty industry, how to not just survive but thrive in the business of beauty all over the country. And in the process of doing that, what is the goal? The goal ultimately, excuse me, ultimately is to create a tremendous amount of success stories, a tremendous amount of knowledge at the base of people that are getting started in their careers in the beauty industry. And potentially you may be, if you discover the stream and you decide to jump on or you tune in, you may be like, well, I'm not in the beauty industry, so I'm going to go ahead and X out of here. Well, before you do, let me just assure you that these skills that I'm going to be covering in the tour and the presentations on these streams are skills that you're going to need no matter really what industry you decide to dive into, whether it be the beauty industry, a sales industry, you're becoming an architect, you're a fashion designer, you're a carpenter, you're digging holes, whatever you're doing, you're going to need some of these skills. And so what I'm doing with the streams, I'm actually breaking out certain sections that you can find in the book. And I'm going to go over the chapters in the book, and I'm going into those sections in each of these sessions a little bit deeper with some takeaways that you can use and put into practice like right away. And if you don't know who I am, as I said, I'm the author of the book, not only also a business builder, entrepreneur, specializing really in helping people career path grow people's skill sets and their soft skills, not so much as the hard skills. That's what I started my career focusing on, going from beauty school, becoming an educator, really helping people in the world of haircutting, specializing in teaching people the technical hard skills that they need to be successful while they're cutting hair. And as I started to open businesses, now having just opened our third salon in the past 6 years in Tampa, Florida, where we're from, not like Chicago, where we are, where it's cold, wet, and snowing everywhere. All of our salons currently in Tampa. And having done that and doing that, continuing to build my business, what I discovered along the way as I'm hiring, firing, and all of the in-betweens is that these soft skills are something that's missing. It's been missing. So when I look at this book, YFY, why did I write the book? Really, I wrote it for myself when I was a student, when I was just getting started in my career. These are the skills that I left school without. The school did a great job explaining to me the craft, you know, learning about the hair cutting, giving me a foundation for color and style. But these soft skills are skills that you're going to need. I needed, and that's really what prompted me over the past year to start putting together this information. And so however you're tuning in, if you want to interact, if you want to leave some questions, you want to ask questions, you have comments you want to make, you can do so either by doing it on the stream. If you're in the Google Plus Hangout, there's a Q&A segment in there. And if you're not in the Google Plus Hangout, what you can do is you can either put your question in. If you're on Periscope, you can put your question in there. You can hit on Instagram. You can look on the Facebook page. Just look for me, Sonny D, S-O-N-N-Y, D as in dog, or S-O-N-N-Y-D-E-E for my Facebook profile, and you can ask the questions there. So I'll be looking at questions, answering questions throughout as we go through the information. So just to give you a quick rundown as to where we were, first session we talked a lot about resumes, portfolios, and other waste of time, which is one of my favorite chapters in the book. It's actually the second chapter in the book, Resumes, Portfolios, and Other Waste of Time. And if you have your book, I'm going to advise you to follow along. If you don't have your book, I don't know what you're doing. You need to get it. And while I'm here, as I'm looking at our website, if I see orders come in, you order a book while we're in the discussion, I'm going to autograph it here for you, and I'm going to be sending it out to you personally. So you can do that easily by going to yourfirstyearin.com, and you'll look for YFY books, and you can get your copy, and it'll be on its way. So if you have yours, follow along, and if you don't, what I'm going to recommend you do is grab a piece of paper, grab a notepad, because I'm going to be going through a lot of information in a short period of time. So in the morning session today, I talked about the resumes, portfolios, and other waste of time, and I also covered some networking tips. There's a chapter in the book called Networking Do or Die, and it really focuses on you getting out there and building your business. This is a definite skill, like the power of, you know, your business card. So this is mine. So the power of a business card, what to do with it, what the value of it is, and how to pitch yourself when you come across the person that you want to do business with. Now, what happens when you're in line at a store and you only have just like a microsecond, a few seconds. So that's what I went through earlier. I gave you the steps on the pitch, so you can go back, watch that video, make sure you get that content. So that was one of the other chapters that I wanted to get into. And this particular session, I want to talk about, I'm going to get into another couple of chapters. A couple of things I want to talk about is going to be, one, it's the hustle muscle. What's your DNA? We're going to talk about that, because just like you go to the gym to try to get, you know, better glutes or better abs so you look, you know, and feel better, it may not be in your DNA initially, but we're going to talk about rewriting the code of your hustle. And that's another chapter I think is going to be huge. And really, I think that chapter, I mean, it's chapter 5. It's like right in the middle. It could come even at the beginning, like we started with the chapter on why, you know, is this industry for you, understanding your why and your purpose for doing what you're doing so you don't quit when it gets tough, which it will. But the chapter on hustle muscle could be, it's arguably could be one of the most important ones, because if you don't have that muscle and you don't develop that muscle, or nobody teaches you how to develop that muscle, it's going to be easy for you to let off the gas when you need to be keeping your foot on the gas and on the accelerator. So we're going to talk about that. And then another segment that I want to talk about in this session is going to be about your mentors and your coaches and the difference between them and why you need them both. So when you start to put together these pieces, what is YFYI? YFYI really becomes a working utility. It's a tool that you're going to use throughout your career, not even just the first 12 to 18 months, which is a big part, because that's a big area where we see so many people, you know, dropping off, quitting, giving up. But even beyond that first 12 to 18 months, what happens in, you know, month 19 when, you know, the salon or the company that you're working in closes down? Then what do you do? You know, but if you have this utility is going to go with you. This utility is going to continue to provide you with the skills and the reminders of the things that you need to do while you're building the foundation of your career. Now, foundation is a key word because when you think about foundation, you know, we're talking about the ground level. We're talking about, you know, where the basement is. We're talking about you building that rock solid foundation that you can go vertical. You know, as we're sitting here in, you know, Chicago in the blizzard, we're snowed in, you know, we look out the windows, there's these huge buildings all around the downtown area, you know, and we're in one of them. It's, you know, 30 stories, you know, up. And as you look around, you realize like they don't take up that much space left and right, like in a horizontal area. They don't take up that much space. Where they really occupy space is in that vertical, as they're going from the ground floor up all the way through, you know, into the clouds. That's where they take up the most space. Now, anything that you think, you know, is going to go up that high, what you find out when you start doing research on building things, and that's what we're talking about ultimately, is building something. And that something in this particular case is your career foundation. So when you talk about building something that high, the thing that you discover is that the majority of the work, the hard work, the dirty work, the tough work, the long and strenuous work, all happens in the foundation. Because that's when, you know, they're coming in with the excavators, they're coming in, you know, with all kinds of machinery and cranes and this and that, and they're plowing and digging and planting into the ground these massive bits and pieces in the structure and pouring the cement, all that stuff that's happening, all that work that's happening, that's building that foundation that's going to be there to be able to erect this incredible structure and go straight up vertically. And that's really where the work, the hard work happens. So when you think about building that foundation, when you think about how are you gonna, hey, what's going on? How you doing over there, Petascopers? When you think about how you're going to build your foundation and build it strong, that's what we need to focus on first. So, if joining in, we're going to get into a lot of those skills. But in this session, this afternoon session, that's what I want to focus on, that hustle muscle, and I want to talk about the mentors and the coaches. So if you're joining on Periscope, welcome. If you're on Google+, we got the Google+ Hangout stream, so we got multi-cameras happening right now. Welcome. And if you're on, whether you're on Google+ or you're on Periscope, if you want to ask questions, you can go ahead. We have the Q&A going on. So there's a Q&A open. You can ask questions. You can submit your question in, and I'll be answering those throughout. So those two chapters is what I want to cover in this afternoon session. And I really want you to be thinking as you're building your career, what are these things? How am I performing in these things? And just to give you a quick overview, I'm going to just cover briefly the chapters that are in the book. And also, if you do purchase a book, if you are on the stream, Periscope, or you're on the Google+ Hangout, and you purchase a book, I have the books here. I'm going to be autographing them, sending it out to you personally with a personal message in there. If you purchase one, all you need to do is go to yourfirstyearin.com, and you can purchase your copy there. And these are going to be skills that you're going to use, like I said, no matter what industry you're in. So I just want to go over the chapters real quick, and then we're going to dig into the afternoon session content. So looking at your first year in, talking about number one, chapter one, why is this industry for you? So in my case, building salons and growing hairstylists, it's the beauty industry. But if you're not in the beauty industry, why is this industry for you? Why is the reason that you're going to go through the pain, the trouble, the financial risk that you're going to be at? Because you're paying, right? You're paying for your schooling. You're paying for, if you have, books, you have time, you have money invested. So why? Why are you doing that? Chapter 2, the resumes, portfolios, and other waste of time. So that was something that I covered in the morning session, where I helped you rethink the approach to a resume, rewrite a resume, make a resume that actually somebody will read. As a business owner, I shared with you earlier, I never read anybody's resumes. People give them to me all the time. I don't read them simply because they're boring. They really do nothing to help me see you more as anything more than a liability, as a new person, as somebody that's just getting started. So in that chapter, when I talk about resumes, portfolios, and other waste of time, really what I help you do, which we talked about in the morning session, is to help you rethink their portfolio, rethink the resume, and be able to position yourself as an asset versus a liability. Chapter 3, salon interviews with an S. It's not love at first sight. So learning how to interview versus being an interviewee. You learn how to be an interviewer. Very, very important. Most people sit across the table as interviewees. They're never really learning the art and the skill of interviewing a salon. So that's a big one. Chapter 4, show me the money. Numbers don't lie. So not trying to make you have to go to school or business, get a business degree and become some kind of master in economics and mathematics. But in that chapter, what I want to show you guys, and what I am going to show you guys, is and are the critical key performance indicators, the key numbers you need to pay attention to. And so depending on what your industry is, you may have a different name for it, but there are key metrics that you need to pay attention to grow your business. The most important ones, not figuring out, all kinds of statistical analysis and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about key performance that are directly tied to your revenue, your income stream, that you need to know. Chapter 5, which we're going to talk about in this session, hustle muscle. What's your DNA? Learning how to develop that muscle to where you can really benchmark yourself and put yourself on track to hit the goals that you set for yourself, whether it be new customers, financial goals, maybe product and service sales, whatever that is, services per guest. We're going to talk about the muscle, contact, networking yourself to people, which leads right into chapter 6, which is networking, do or die. It's not, should I join a made-up group? It's not, should I go to a Chamber of Commerce event? It's not, should I go network, even though I'm tired, but there's a social hour I might be able to go to. It's not should I, it's do or die. Networking, do or die. Chapter 7, goals, huge. Everybody has them, but the challenge is a lot of people haven't been taught properly the step-by-step in order to create goals that they're able to hit. So in that chapter, I'm going to focus on how to set goals, how to create goals that are going to be attainable and achievable. Chapter 7, that was chapter 7. Chapter 8 is going to be mentors versus coaches and why you need them both. So I break down the differences between mentors and between coaches, and knowing a coach, basically, like I'm a coach for people, meaning I'm accessible to them. I help them accountable. We create game plans and action plans to reach certain goals, and I get after them to hit them and stay on top of them. That's really where the coaching comes in versus a mentor you may or may not ever meet. They may be dead, they may be alive, you may not have access to them. They may be just something that you're aspiring to be or someone you're aspiring to be like. Number 9, chapter 9, location, location, location. Why bouncing around will ruin your career. So in that chapter, I'm going to talk about, the methodology of stick and stay is bound to pay, why you need to commit, make a commitment. You don't want to have a track record. You don't want to show up and you've worked at every single salon in the city that you live in, or you've worked at every single, office or agency or business in the city that you live in or in your industry. Stick and stay is bound to pay is the method and the motto that we talk about in that chapter. And then chapter 10, it's called What If You Do Make It. So what if? What happens next? Things to think about as a business. Maybe you're going to become an owner. Maybe you are an owner. So now you're talking about diversifying your portfolio, maybe expanding into other verticals. I was talking with a friend of mine this weekend, and he was talking about, staying within his lane in the beauty industry, but he's thinking about what other verticals could he get into that could run parallel and creating those multiple flows of income. So that's something that we get into in that last chapter, what if you do make it? And that's something you need to think about, something you definitely need to think about. So those are the chapters, and I've got a PowerPoint that I'm running simultaneously inside the Google Plus Hangout. The link's actually in the post. If you're on Periscope, the link to the Google Plus Hangout, or you can go over to my Facebook page and you can jump on the Google Plus Hangout. The link is in my most recent post. So either way, I'll be sharing some of the slides. I'll be going in between the camera and the slides, but that'll only be available on Google Plus during the Hangout. So let's get into the hustle muscle. So just like any other muscle group, you have this muscle, which I define as the hustle muscle. You probably won't be able to find it on any anatomy chart. You probably won't see it anywhere on there, but it's real and it does exist. And I'm going to give you a little excerpt from the hustle muscle chapter. So starting with one of my favorite quotes by Vince Lombardi, legendary football coach: winners never quit and quitters never win. So what are we talking about? So you look at all the different generations. So that's something that I wanted to share with you. You hear the words going around talking about Generation X, Generation Y, Millennials, Generation Flux. So when you think about this, it's like everybody has something to say about the previous generation. But when you look at where the work ethic lies, maybe things have become a little bit more instant in today's day and age. People want things instantly. Like even doing something like this live stream, this was not possible, 15, 20 years ago, probably not even 10 years ago, where you could stream and have simultaneous. And I didn't plan this, but I have the technology with me all the time, and the ability is there to be able to do a stream like this. This didn't exist a long time ago. So people didn't have that kind of access. You may have to, it wasn't like, oh, we're just going to not do anything because it's snowing. So no, there's still things that can happen. And because of that, because of the accessibility, we're talking about a different generation now. So let's look at the hustle muscle. To be able to build a business, to be able to build this business and to get what you want to get out of this business, you're going to need to exercise this muscle. Now, how do you know if you have the hustle muscle? A couple of indicators. You're rising before everyone else. You're arriving early, you stay late. These are all signals. If this fits you, then I want you to think about it. One of my mentors says that you need to have an immigrant mentality. Now, when I talk about the immigrant mentality, where is that coming from? I'm born and raised, United States of America. Very proud of that. But where is the immigrant mentality? The statistics will show, immigrants come to this country, they have a better chance. They are 40% times more likely to become millionaires than people that are born and raised in this country. Why is that? Think about it. So when you think about it, an immigrant comes to our country, what do they have that you don't have? What do they have that you need to develop? So when you think about the mentality, so when you're thinking, well, it's, family, when you're thinking, I have to survive, I'm trying to work to survive and make the most out of my opportunity. The problem I think a lot of people don't recognize is the opportunity. Now, I haven't been everywhere in the world. I haven't been to, all the third world countries and seen all those things. But to know all of those things and see all those things, I'm sure it'd be an eye-opener. But to know the opportunity that lies in America that we have every single day and to not take advantage of it. Because all you got to do is work and keep your eyes open and work around people and see. Why are people working so hard? Why are people working so hard? They're working so hard because they're realizing what could be possible in this country when they see people. There's people that come to this country that can't read, can't write, can't speak English. Fast forward 5 or 10 years later, and they're millionaires. Look at the Forbes list. You got to educate yourself and look at the backgrounds of people. So when I talk about that immigrant mentality, that's a big thing. Now, here's some interesting things that I share here. The interesting thing I find is that only 13% of our population are immigrants. And when it comes to millionaires, there are only 1 out of 25 families that are millionaires. So think about that. When you think about the statistics, that immigrants are 3 times more likely to become millionaires than Americans are. Why is that? What do they have that you don't have? I think really what it comes down to is they're recognizing the opportunity that's here. So when you think about, well, I'm going to go to work today, and you're going to work and you're thinking 9 to 5. I don't know anybody that makes 6 figures that works 9 to 5. I don't know anybody that that makes 6 figures that would even is working like a 10 or 12 hour day. Most of the people that I know that are 6-figure earners are working 15 hours a day, and they're doing it for sustained periods of time over sustained periods, numbers of years. It's not, you're not going to work a 9 to 5 and work your way into the millionaire status. It's just not going to happen. So when you start thinking about developing the hustle muscle, I want you to think about the will. You got to start thinking about will. Do you have the will? And that's going to be a big thing. Saying to yourself things like, I will do this, and not giving yourself an easy way out. That's a big thing. It's not like when, prime example today, thinking, well, this happened and that happened. We had a snowstorm, we had a blizzard, this class got canceled and all that. What were our options? Our options were to do nothing, the schools are closed, or do something. And when you have the will, you automatically go to, well, what can I do? It's not about what you can't do. Like I'm not going to stop the snow from coming down, or maybe stop these schools from calling the day off. But what can I do? So let's set up shop. Let's create some content. Let's do some live streaming. We get some people come on. We'll share the message that way. Some of them may be home anyway, so they can jump on and they can find out more about what we're doing. And it also give us a chance to just work through some of the content and maybe introduce it to some new people. So it's thinking about what I can do, not giving yourself an easy way out. And that's a big thing. So when you're looking at your industry that you're in, like we're in the beauty industry, for example. It's a $54 billion industry, tons of competition, hair salons and opportunities for people to get, services everywhere. So when you're thinking about that, the person that shows up early, stays late, has the hustle muscle is guaranteed to win. One of the places where you want to find success before you find work is only going to be one place, really. It's going to be the dictionary. So if you want to find success before work, go look there. Because when it comes down to it, you're going to need to work. You're not going to get the success before the work. You're not going to get in before you put in the reps. You're not going to start looking and, would you expect to start taking off your clothes and have this like developed body before you went to the gym? No. So it doesn't apply in any other area. When it comes to building a business, when it comes to getting new customers, you don't get to pass. You don't get to just say, oh, well, I'm just going to think about it. I'm going to think about it, and then it's just going to happen. That's not going to happen. You have to suit up, and you have to show up. Calling in sick's not an option. And when you think about in today's day and age, how much that's costing companies. I was in the military. I shared some of this with you guys earlier. There was none of that. It's costing, we're talking millions and millions of dollars, probably in the billions of dollars it's costing companies for people that aren't having the hustle muscle, people that aren't willing to go through the pain, go through the struggle, put in the work to create value, billions of dollars in the workforce. Well, one of the things I want you to think when you're like, okay, how do I get my head around this? Well, your why. So we connect back to that why, and what is it? What's driving you? What is the purpose? Because if you're willing to give up on any task that you're doing that easy, you're probably not in the right thing. So that's going to be the best information or the best news that you might deliver to yourself. You know what? Maybe this isn't the right thing, and I'm not really passionate about this. I'm not really cut out for this. Because if you were, then you work, what we say is we work through the pain. We work through the pain. So that's something that you have to think about when you're developing the hustle muscle. So a couple things that I want to share in here. Here are some things about your business, building your business. Number one, it's a 24-hour operation. You don't get days off, Sunday, Monday. Typically, in our industry, those are days off. There's still stuff that you need to do to set yourself up for success if you're building this muscle out. Every time you leave your house, you have an opportunity to connect and contact someone. So you need to be in that mentality that your business is everywhere, no matter what you do. If you're in real estate, you're in the hair business, you're a gym, trainer, you're a chef, business is everywhere. So you need to be aware of that and know every time you leave your house, there's an opportunity for you to come into contact with someone. So the mentality, the products and services you offer, if you're in our industry as a beauty professional, can be found anywhere, but most of the time, people are not ready to offer them. Therefore, they're missing opportunities. They're not ready, right? They're not preparing themselves with the skill set, with the dialogue, knowing everything you can about your product or service. You don't have your product or service down, you're going to run into somebody and you're going to be like, oh, and you're just going to pass on the opportunity. You're not going to say anything. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to pass on the opportunity. So having your skill set, having your product information, your product knowledge, your service information down, so when that opportunity comes by, you don't just let it pass you up. So work ethic. How many are you tracking? How many hours you're putting in? And I don't just mean like, well, I punched in at 9 a.m. and I punched out at 5 p.m. Like tracking it, looking at the high net worth individuals and measuring yourself up. So you look at somebody like a Warren Buffett, 80 plus years old, still works every single day. Why is somebody like that working every single day? Why is he? Because he's got a passion, he's got a why, he's developed his hustle muscle, and he has a work ethic. And that's a big thing that you're going to need to work on developing. And so your muscle will get out of shape. You can get out of practice just like anything else. As you're going through life, you know, things are going to happen. You may get out of practice. You may be like during an off season. You know, there's athletes out there, some of the highest in the world, off season, and may get a little rusty, may get a little fatigued. Like right now, this time of the year, spring training's going on in Florida. So all the baseball players are there. They're working out out the cobwebs, working out some of the kinks, getting back on course. So those are things that you're going to have to constantly do. Because if you start taking that time off, you start taking, now time off for us, say you're a hairstylist, time off could be you just doing some, you know, or not doing some hair, you know, getting a little rusty. But when it comes to your business, think about it. Maybe you've been out of season. You haven't been passing these things out, these business cards. Maybe you've been out of season for a while. You haven't been distributing your business cards, and you need to dust it off and get back out there. It's a lot easier to stay in shape than to get in shape. Remember that. So you take time off and you don't do a little bit consistently every single day, and you got to come back. Think about when you went back to the gym in that first week or two, how sore you were because you let your muscles develop into atrophy, where they started to literally wither away from lack of use. It's the same thing with any muscle, your brain, your muscles, your biceps, your triceps, your legs, and your hustle muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. What do you think you have it for? You have it to use. So as you're looking at some of these things, I want you to be thinking about that all the time. Like, what is the muscle? What does it look like? What is my current level of work ethic and push towards it look like right now? That's a big thing. What is your current level and push towards it? Let's take a look here. So we're working on the hustle muscle, and I want you to be thinking within yourself. And this is where you have to give yourself an honest grade. You don't want to, like, you know, oh yeah, I'm a hustler. Like, you can hashtag it all you want, but are you actually doing anything? Building your clientele, it requires extreme amounts, an extreme amount of dedication. And in the beginning, think about in the beginning, it's just like in the beginning of everything. You don't have a reputation. You don't have experience. You're not in demand. And that's when you need to turn it on high. You're not just going to get a pass. So the older generations and the older workforce talk about paying your dues. So it may be like, you know, one of the things that I like to say, it's like, yeah, paying your dues, but it's really about working and working and working. And then you're going to get what you're due. You put in the work, you get the success in that area. And it's going to be in different areas. It's not going to be, you know, I worked out, I did so many sit-ups in my biceps screw. So you have to understand that. You got different areas. So maybe you're working on haircutting. What I'm focused on is you working on building your business, you know, getting the customers in the door, networking yourself, knowing your business, knowing your numbers. So those are the muscles that I'm working on, you building your business. When you look at a person like a Warren Buffett versus you or versus me, the one place where we're all even is in the time we have every single day. You know, nobody gets a special deal. Nobody, because Warren Buffett's Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett doesn't get, you know, 25 hours a day, doesn't get 26 hours a day. You know, you don't get 23 hours a day and somebody else gets 24, 25. There's no special deal for anyone. The deal is this. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, but it's going to come down to how we're executing on those 24 hours and not wasting time. So your work, your homework, if you will, over the next week, what I want you to do is I want you to track 24 hours a day for 7 days straight. That's 168 hours. And I want you to track, and I want you to, you can keep it in a journal, notepad, whatever you want to do. I want you to track that 168 hours over the next week. And I want you to keep track of categories. So how much time did you sleep? That's going to be one area. What were the hours you were at the workplace? That's going to be another area. And I say the hours you were at the workplace because I would tell people sometimes how many hours did you work, and they'd give me the hours they were at the workplace. When you know and I know you're not working the entire time you're at work, what happens at work? Well, bathroom breaks, lunch breaks, breaks just because, meaningless and mindless conversation, all those little things, those 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, those add up. And so on average, when you look at the work week, a 40-hour work week, the person may be really only working about 35 hours, maybe 30, I think it's 36, 37 hours max. Yeah, the rest of that time, it's breaks, chats, mindless, meaningless conversation, and distractions. So how much time are you at the workplace? And then if you can be honest with yourself, how much time are you actually working while you're at the workplace? How much time are you spending driving? So if you're commuting to and from and wherever you're going, how much time are you spending eating? It's another thing I want you to track. How much time you're spending working out if you work out. It's another thing I want you to put down. So you got sleeping, you got working, you got driving, you got eating, you got working out. And then any other things, activities that you're doing. Think about social media. How much time are you spending on Facebook? That's a big one, or on Instagram. And a lot of that happens now. Actually, some of that happens simultaneously, right? Because you're driving an hour, and then, while you're driving, you're on Instagram or you're on Snapchat or whatever. So a lot of that's happening at the same time. But I want you to try to work those numbers out separately. So social media, how much time are you spending there? Another big one for a lot of people is how much time are you spending watching television? That's a big one. A lot of people are watching TV. They're not even, tracking. And I'll share a couple statistics with you when it comes to watching TV that might actually scare you. It is kind of scary. Let's see here. I gotta find those statistics. I'll find them and I'll get back to you. Actually, hold up, distraction. Here we go. On average, people are watching 4 hours of television a day. A day. So over average adult life, that equals 13 years. If you watch television 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that'd be 13 years straight. Lost wages because of television equals about $1 million. So those are just some fun facts about television. So I want you to think about that. So those are things I want you to track down. Out of that 168 hours you have in the week, how many hours are you sleeping? How many hours are you working? How many hours are you driving? How many hours are you eating? How many hours a week you're working out? How many hours a week you're spending on social media? How many hours a week you're watching television? So you track those so you can find out, number one, you got to become aware of where your time's going. As you might think you're working hard, and then you find out that you're robbing yourself of 6, 7 hours, a day just in mindless stuff. And typically I like to do this exercise with people that think that they're super, super busy. And then we go through and we take the 168 and we break it down. And I love to see how much the super busy people, or the people that think they're super busy, how much time they have left over. Bonjour. Oh, nice. French Montana. That's funny. So that's one thing I want you to think about when you're developing your hustle muscle, tracking down your 168 hours. that are slipping away from you, slipping away. Because when you find out you had 168 hours in a week and you thought you were so busy and you add everything up, you're going to find, wow, I'm still short so many hours to completion. Like, where did that time go? You're still going to come up. I'm short. I'm telling you, you're going to be surprised. It's an eye-opener. So that's one thing I want you to track down. And once you track it down, you can find out how can I allocate some of the hours that I'm, don't know where they are. I got to find them and then reallocate those hours to things like building my business, feeding my mind. And some of these things like the driving and the working out, you can actually turn those two things into productivity time. So you can gain back when you're saying, well, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. You can turn those things. So that's going to be your homework, to find out what you're doing with that time so we can track it down. And you can always shoot me your list. If you get your list put together, you want to shoot it to me on Facebook. Just look for Sonny D, SONNY D as in dog. That's my Facebook page. Or you can go to my profile page, which is SONNYDEE, just like it looks on there, or Sonny DEE. And you can shoot me your list and I'll coach you, analyze it for you, give you some feedback on it. So the last bit I want to get into in this session is going to be mentors versus coaches. So that in the book, it is chapter number 8 in YFYI, your first year in. And if you don't have your book, I'm recommending that you get it right now. I'm going to sign a copy for you so you can go to YFYI, your first year in. Just go to yourfirstyearin.com. See that on there? Yourfirstyearin.com. And you can order your copy. And if you order your copy during any of the sessions or today, I'm going to be autographing those. I'll type any message in there for you, and I will send those out to you right away. So that's what I'm going to recommend that you do. So as we're looking into the mentors versus coaches, why do I want to cover this one? Because I think a lot of people are like, man, will you mentor me? Will you mentor me? Will you mentor me? You don't need to ask somebody to mentor you. You know, you can choose a mentor, and they can be whoever. Like I said, some of my mentors aren't even alive. You know, like Steve Jobs is one of my mentors, the founder, co-founder and builder of Apple. He's not alive. He's still a mentor of mine. How do I have access to him? I don't physically, but I can go on YouTube. I can watch videos and speeches and talks. I can read books about him, watch documentaries about him. I can learn about him, how he thinks, how he interacts. I can see, him like I'm aspiring to be someone that could build something that has as much of an impact on humanity as he did. So he's a mentor of mine. Other mentors of mine, some of them are living, like Tony Robbins is a mentor of mine. E.T. is a mentor of mine. Eric Thomas, if you don't know who that is, you need to Google. Grant Cardone is a mentor of mine. Martin Luther King, another mentor of mine. Some of them actually can cross over, like a Grant Cardone and a Tony Robbins. Not only can they be mentors of mine, but they can also be coaches because I can cross over and have access to them in their world. They actually both live in Florida. So I have access. I mean, they're right down the road from where I'm from in Tampa, so I can have access to them there. But when you think about why you need them both, because you want to have people that you aspire to be and that have done things and created examples that you want to live up to. But you also need to have a coach. Because when you think about coaches, the coaches are the people that are going to guide you, direct you, chew you out when you're not on track, hold you accountable. Those are going to be people that you need. They can help you create action plans. They can help you when you're up. They can also help you when you're down. So you'll have some that cross over, but the biggest thing I want you to think about is your mentor is someone that you aspire to be or be like or create things like or you're modeling maybe some of your process in your career after, versus your coach is the person that's going to be checking in with you, or you're checking in with them. They're helping hold you accountable. Me personally, I'd rather be a coach than a mentor, because I'm like a results kind of oriented person, and I like to see personal growth in people. I like to help people, guide people, accountability. I like holding people accountable, and I like being a part of the growth process in all phases, from beginning to middle to end and beyond. So I personally look at myself more of as a coach versus a mentor. But you need them both. You need them both. So what you want to do is you want to do what I call, the exercise is called developing your board of directors. So I want you to visualize this. Imagine, you have this boardroom, you have a table. Around the table, you have people, maybe you're sitting at one head of the table. Who are the 5 to 10 people that you'd want to have around that table that you would ask questions to when the going gets tough? So whether that be career questions, so I want you to think about career. I want you to think about finance. It's a finance question. I want you to think about maybe physical. So maybe you have somebody there that, is it going to be a coach for you from a physical aspect, a physical point of view? Want you to think about maybe you have maybe a relationship. It could be a spiritual coach, could be a professional coach. So if you're thinking just in your technique of haircutting, who's going to be your haircutting coach? Who's going to be, if you're a business owner, which you all know you are, who's going to be your business coach? So all of these are going to be people that you're going to call on when the going gets tough, and the going is going to get tough. And so when that happens, you're going to be able to call on these people, and you're going to be able to ask them questions, and that's your board of directors. What would so-and-so do? Some of the people on my board, Mark Zuckerberg, the creator and co-founder of Facebook, John Paul DeJoria of Paul Mitchell, co-founder of John Paul Mitchell Systems, and co-founder of Patron Tequila, which you love. I bet some of you do. I already said Steve Jobs is another one. Robert Cromings is another one for me. He's the person I talked about in session 1 that talked me into going to beauty school. And I have access to him, so he's a mentor and a coach for me. So those are things that when you think about some of the great coaches, a lot of times when I'm looking at coaches and I'm studying coaches, I'm like thinking of people like the great Phil Jackson. Yeah, Phil Jackson. Why Phil Jackson? Well, think about what he had to do. He had the greatest, which we just seen, the statue. I don't know if you guys are on Snapchat. If you're following on Snapchat, you'll see some wild and crazy snaps on there. I'm snapping all the time. But on Snapchat, I shared a couple snaps while we're cruising around Chicago. We went to the United Center, where the one and only Michael Jordan plays. And we saw the statue of MJ that you see on all of the apparel all over the place. Another one I'm talking about. Yeah. Jumpin', them boys up to something. They just spent like 2 or 3 weeks out the country. Yeah, the Jumpman. So we got to see the Jumpman over there, but think about this. Phil Jackson had Michael Jordan, greatest talent, had Scottie Pippen, one of the best players of all time. Then he had this wild and crazy guy named Dennis Rodman. So he had to mesh and mold and use all kinds of coaching ability to get the harmony to go so these guys could run and run and run and win championship after championship after championship. And we talk about a coach, he not only did that with the Chicago Bulls, but then he went to the Lakers and he got this guy that's, pretty well known, named Kobe Bryant, another guy, Shaquille O'Neal, and a team over there, and did the same thing again for a string of championships. So the coaching ability. So you finding a good coach and you're looking at a coach, You know, what kind of players and what kind of situations, what kind of championships have they won? So you want to select your coach carefully. Your mentors, again, you may or may not have access to, but your coaches you will. And if you pick the wrong coach, somebody that's never won nothing, never coached nobody anywhere, did anything, you could be in for a rude awakening. So in that chapter, I'm going to break down some of the qualities that you want to look for in a coach, some of my mentors, which you're more than welcome to steal or borrow, whatever you want to do, and some of the coaching attributes that I think are going to make a big difference for you. And when you're selecting your coaching and your mentors, developing that board of directors, remember the diversification of your board, because when those questions come up and you go to your board, you're going to be able to find the answer if you have the right board of directors. So that's mentors versus coaches, and that's the hustle, muscle. Couple more really important things in developing yourself and building your career. And the biggest thing with YFYI, and the reason that this project is in existence, is really, you know, as we look at our industry, knowing the foundation of the industry is in good hands, making sure of that, whatever I can do to strengthen that, to make sure that it continues to grow, continues to blossom, and continues to be here for generation to generation to generation. You know, every industry is under siege from time to time, but when we look at our industry, you know, we have one of the best industries on the planet, in my opinion. So to make sure you have that foundation, that solid foundation that you can build on top of, it's going to save you time in the long run. We build our team members, we build and career path our staff and our team. We build it slowly, but we build it right. And the reason why is because we don't want to have to go back and build it again. And that's what YFY, the book, is doing for people. And these are some of the people that are getting this book and that are reading it. I mean, there are a lot of business people. There are stylists. Some are new, some are old. And even some of the older stylists are like, man, I wish I had this when I was just starting out. Because now I'm 10, 15, 20 years in, and I still haven't made it. I'm not financially where I want to be. I'm not the position I thought I would be in at this point in my career. So a lot of the feedback that's come in, and these are tools, they're eye-opening tools, but they're actually, it's all about practicality. You know, it's not theory. These are things that I'm doing, that I teach, that our stylists are doing. We have some really cool case studies in here of some of our stylists at different stages in their career. We share some of their numbers so you can see like what's possible, you know, in your first year in and beyond. And remember, it's YFY, your first year in. It's not MFYI, so it's your first year in. And so if you haven't got your copy, just go to yourfirstyearin.com. I'm going to be here. I'm signing books. I'm sending them out to you personally. And you can share this broadcast if you're on Periscope. Thanks for being on Periscope for session 2. If you're on Google Plus on the Hangout, thanks for being on for session 2. I'm going to be doing another session later tonight. So it'll be the third session of the day. If you missed the first one, you can go on the Facebook page. I'll be sharing the links from session 1 and 2 on there. Just look for Sonny D-E-E on Facebook, or just look for Sonny D, S-O-N-N-Y-D, just like that. You can find that, and you can find the links. You'll find the replay post, and you'll find the link for session 3 tonight that I'm going to be doing. And you can tune in live for that, where I'm going to go into a couple more pieces from YFY. So make sure in between now and then, if you don't have your copy, you order a copy, yourfirstyearin.com, look for YFYI books. And I look forward to seeing you on session 3. Hopefully this blizzard clears up so we can do what we came all the way here to Illinois to do, which is to go visit all of these schools and do these presentations live with a live audience. But until the blizzard clears up, we get the green light. The schools, if they are going to be open tomorrow, we still have, you know, 5 presentations scheduled for the rest of the week between, you know, tomorrow and Friday. So we're going to be going into the schools and we'll be doing some streaming there. But until further notice, we're holed up here at the hotel downtown Chicago. And luckily we have the power of technology behind us and we can do some of these streams live so you can see them and learn a little bit more about YFY. But until tonight's session, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you go to yourfirstyearin.com, get your book. I'm going to sign it for you, send it to you, and appreciate you watching, appreciate you tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you guys in session 3 tonight, which will be broadcasting around 8:30. So be looking for the link. We'll be sharing it. And I'll see you then. I'll see you there, whether you're in Google Plus or in Periscope. I'll talk to you guys later. Sunny D here. And I'm saying out for now. Take care.